We're going to be covering a topic today discussing a framework approach to building an Oracle Web Center intranet, extranet, or portal. I want to share our agenda for today. So I'm going to cover just a few moments on Fishbowl Solutions, who we are and what we do. Also be turning it over to some colleagues who are joining me today, and I'll introduce them in the next slide to really dig in and dive into what is our portal solution accelerator, what it is and what it can do for an organization. I'm going to also highlight some successes of the portal solution accelerator, and basically why customers chose to use that framework as an approach to build and launch their portal. Jerry Aber, who I'll be introducing here in just a moment, will then be giving an overview, kind of a broad overview of the solution, and then he'll also be given a demonstration of the solution. Then at the end, we'll also kind of compare and contrast with all the improvements that Web Center Portal has made in its 11G release cycle, all the way up to 11.118, just a comparison on how within the out-of-the-box capabilities you can do certain things compared to how we enable you to build and add content to your site and things like that. So again, I'm Jason Lehman. I'm the marketing team lead at Fishbowl Solutions. I'm happy to be joined by my colleagues Jerry Aber and Andy Weaver. And both Jerry and Andy have a lot of experience with portal deployments, building a portal, helping organizations scope their project for what they want to get out of their portal, and basically help them kind of set that vision for launch and go forward success. So a quick moment on Fishbowl Solutions. So Fishbowl Solutions has been in the Web Center space all the way back to when Stellent first had their content management system. So we've been doing content and portal work for about 14 years now. We're an Oracle Gold partner, so we have specializations in Web Center content and Web Center portal. And that's really where our expertise lies. So we hear from a lot of organizations that, you know, I have content, I have portal. What's next for my organization? You know, I'm managing content, I'm storing content, but you know, what can I actually do next? What's my next project that I can kick off? How can I further enable the solution? What components can I use? And that's really where Fishbowl can help you. We also want to be able to help organizations further leverage existing Oracle technologies as well. So how can Web Center be integrated with things like business process management and automate workflows and integrations with Oracle applications and things like that. Happy to say that we've had many successes in doing that, really helping customers leverage Web Center and extend their investments. And from those, we've had some shared successes with some awards that we've won along the way. So one big thing at Fishbowl Solutions is we don't want to reinvent the wheel. So we work closely with customers to, you know, understand their business problems, even if they're short-term problems. Effectively, what do they want to do? What do they want to solve? And then what does go forward success look like for them? So around those business problems that we talk to them about, we build solutions from. And so on this slide, I'm just showing an example of what some of those solutions are. We have mobile applications, for example, that allow you to extend content that's stored in Web Center down to mobile devices, including your iPad and Android tablets and smartphones. We also have, and today's topic, we're going to be talking about our portal solution accelerator. So really helping organizations, you know, not only deploy a portal, but giving that next-gen user experience, you know, from a user engagement perspective, making sure that it's responsive so that it can be displayed on smartphones and tablet devices. We also want to make sure that organizations can ensure that all the content in their repository and across their portal can be found. So we've extended search capabilities by using Google Search and the Google Search appliance. So we have an integration that provides a Google-like search experience for Web Center. And then we also want to ensure that you can also integrate the content in other applications and other repositories with systems like SharePoint. But the reason that you're all joining us today and what we're going to cover today is really what is our portal solution accelerator and what's the value you can get out of it to help you build your portal your intranet, or your extranet. And so the themes that we're really going to focus on today are the three that are listed here. So when you registered, you probably remember we asked the question, what are the challenges that you've had so far with your WebCenter portal, your intranet, or your extranet? And the number one response across registrants was just the complexity. You're first a little concerned that if you go forward with a certain approach, what are the risks involved in doing that? And then the ongoing complexity of maintaining your portal or your intranet. And if ADF is used, and it can be used, it's a very strong tool to actually build a portal. What does that actually mean from a trade-off perspective? So you have this robust technology to build it, but what about the user go-forward functions to contribute content and just the ongoing maintenance of the portal? We also want to focus on time to market. So a lot of customers have come to us and said, I have WebCenter portal. We haven't had a success with it yet. How can I actually get something up and running quickly so I can begin user engagement, allow other business groups to contribute content and start sharing information? I just want to get something up and running quickly and then build off from there. And once they do that, they want to ensure that once they have their portal up, their intranet, they're engaging the specific users and business groups to the best of their ability. So enabling those business groups to distribute content, allow users to contribute content to the portal or intranet, and then extending that outside as well to their customers, to their partners. And again, really just having that framework ability to do so. And with that, I want to share some successes that we've had with our Portal Solution Accelerator, and also mention that we've built up on these successes over the last 3.5, 4 years. So when we were first looking at doing an accelerator for WebCenter portal, the customers, like I mentioned in the previous slide, were coming to us and saying, I went down this road with certain technology, or I don't have anything to show for my WebCenter portal investment yet. And in AAM's case, this is a manufacturer of drivetrain and axles out of Michigan. Their problem was they had purchased portal, they had worked with another partner, and that partner recommended the ADF approach. So they actually got something built in a previous version of portal, or an earlier 11G release. They actually did get something built. So it was up, it was running, but what they saw over time is that it's just very low adoption. They weren't getting people to use the portal. The amount of people that were visiting and return visits was very low. And what they saw is the content was stagnant. So they had a cumbersome process to update content on the site. And one of the reasons was IT became a bottleneck because IT had the ADF ability, although limited, to actually make those changes. So when they evaluated that, they said, we can't go forward with this because what we have currently just will not work for us from a user engagement perspective. And as we think about building it out even further and integrating applications, this current methodology is not going to work. So they worked with us. They really liked our framework approach, so they could use public spaces templates really to simplify the architecture, and then make sure that the business groups were empowered to contribute content. So IT was removed as that bottleneck, and content could just be distributed to the various users and business groups to contribute content. Another organization we worked with is the University of Pretoria out of South Africa, and their initiative was really around consolidating information across their university. And before they had multiple information systems, there was a very fragmented approach to distribute the content and make sure that the specific users and groups were getting the content that was relevant to them. And when they looked at bringing WebCenter content, WebCenter portal in, and then integrating the two, they really wanted to make sure that content was specific to the staff and the students that were attending the university. So they really wanted to take advantage of the collaboration features in WebCenter portal, but then use all these assets that they were consolidating in WebCenter content to get them surfaced to the portal. But one of the issues that they foresaw and that we helped them with is, we have all this content, we want to distribute it, but how do we govern actually who gets to see it and who gets to contribute to make sure that the content that's being contributed is going to the right group or users within the portal. So they really like the framework approach because of the ability to really distribute that content based on security. So if you have various roles and groups in your organization, you can set up who gets to control the site content, the navigation, all things like that. And the other piece that they liked was that it was really easy to take and reuse templates and the layouts to make what are called microsites. So the various groups that wanted more information for their group, they had a lot of relevant content, instead of having to do just, or having generic pages up about specific staff information, they wanted more specific information, they could go to the microsite and drill down from there. Some other successes we've had, the healthcare provider listed here, their issue was they had a portal investment, they really weren't able to get anything up and running, and they really wanted to take their legacy portal, which wasn't an Oracle technology, get off that system and get over to WebCenter portal to better engage their users. So their use case was an employee intranet, and they really liked the concept of again, this distributed contribution model to make sure that the business groups were updating the content and making the internet, ensuring that the content in the internet was really fresh and new. The insurance provider listed here, they were moving off WebLogic portal, and they really wanted to have a foundational portal that would allow them to go forward. And as they looked at what they would want to do going forward, one big piece of that was the back office business application integration. So having that framework in place to allow for those application integrations on the back end. So just some successes that we've had thus far with our Portal Solution Accelerator. With that, I am going to turn it over to Jerry Aber, and he's going to provide you with a more detailed overview of the solution. So Jerry, just one moment, I'm going to give you control.
Perfect. Thanks, Jason. So I'm going to pick up where Jason left off and talk a little about the Portal Solutions Accelerator and its components. And I'll give you some introductions into the pieces that make up the Portal Solutions Accelerator. And later on, we'll talk a little bit more on some of the details underneath the covers and then do a quick little demo on it. So basically, the Portal Solutions Accelerator is made up of some packaged software and services. There's two major components of this packaged software, and one sits on the content server side and one sits on the portal side. They make up basically the portal library and the content server library of assets that we assemble to make our intranet or extranet site jump off the ground so quickly. On the WebCenter content side, it is a WebCenter-based portal solution that starts off the integration with the content side and then leverages with additional WebCenter portal features that are either out of the box in terms of task flows and portlets, or new portlets or task flows that get created as part of an engagement and can be exposed. At that point in time, you can expose additional ADF applications, business components, and additional Java or .NET applications in a lightweight framework approach. It does have built-in personalization, and we start with a basic core set of metadata fields that help drive that personalization. For example, location, role, and maybe title helps drive it. Then we expand that depending on the engagement we have. So you might have 4 or 5 or 6 additional fields or replacement fields that we kind of roll into that solution based on your desire to target content and how you wish to target that. So it becomes a perfect way to kind of jumpstart that portal engagement. Start with the portal infrastructure, roll that out, content integration, and then roll in your applications, either lightweight or a tighter integration approach. So what's included? The core of the portal sits on WebCenter content, and that framework is built up of mega menus, core integrations for contacts, event calendars, a WYSIWYG editor, and breadcrumbs and related content, for example. That framework then allows you to leverage a mega menu approach, which is what we found is a nice best practice way of getting the navigation in the portal set up. This is a content-based navigation, not a custom page navigation that's out of the portal. Ours is based on site sections and mega menu approaches and content that gets added to these site sections and then builds out that navigation via contribution activities and allows for flexibility and allows for targeting the personalization based on those navigation items. What we do with our integration to the content server is with 2 JSR 286 compliant portlets. One we call the content snippet portlet and the other is the search portlet. The snippet portlet is basically a one-to-one piece of content mapping. Search portlet is just that, it's search. It provides a query and you pull back a result set, and that result set is formatted with a JSP template. such as we got a couple examples here with like a news release kind of approach, or maybe an event calendar that can be content-based, which helps for an easy startup to build these landing pages, for example. The templates we have are built out through pages. Our page templates come with the framework, and we also have an ability to kind of integrate your skin and logo into that, because it is an ADF skin that's on top of this solution, and your site design helps drive how that look and feel and how you even consume the assets that are part of the PSA framework. So we combine a set of static layout pages and topic pages and articles, we call them, that help from a dynamic perspective that are reusable. So there's only about 8 to 10 total pages in the framework, and that helps drive possibly hundreds or thousands of pages of content in various forms of either static view or search results. That makes it easy to get things off the ground quickly without so much total cost of ownership in terms of managing static navigation and all those static pages and business pages that need to get set up. The base framework that you see, we used to affectionately call it Intranet in a box, because its genesis was based on use cases where intranets was the primary business problem we were trying to solve. Over the course of the last couple of years, we've done more extranets, and it's really blurred the lines between an intranet solution versus an extranet solution. Whether you're trying to expose stuff internally or externally, where it sits inside or outside of your DMZ, basically determines whether that's intranet or extranet, and the framework works either way. We have customers that have us facing the external side, and we have customers that have the Portal framework facing strictly the internal view of the customer. The architecture, when you look at the WebCenter stack, basically is made up of the sites and spaces, and resource catalog and WebCenter content. And our components fit, like I said, one sits inside of the content server side and one sits inside of the portal side. And that's how we kind of extend that framework and allow you to use the portal as is and add your additional pages to it and extend the framework for additional applications, resource catalog items, integration with additional content items, and even components that might be surfaced up via the content server directly into, say, the skin of your portal for doing direct in-context contribution.
All right, thanks, Jerry. So with that, I'm now going to turn it over to Andy Weaver.
All right, hi everybody. So part of our 2.0 release here, what we were really looking at, aside from your usual, back-end improvements, performance improvements, code refactoring, all that kind of good stuff, is we're looking at a couple areas to really improve on what we had from that initial release that we had been working on with customers. These two areas were in end-user tools and in administrative tools. So for end-user tools, one of the biggest things we added was the ability to edit the content in place in the portal. And Oracle has some tools to do this through the content presenter, but what we ended up doing was integrating everyone's favorite WYSIWYG editor, the CK editor, right into the portal page itself, so that as you get onto the page here and you click through, it's very easy to just click right in the page and see what you're editing as you're in the page, sort of live. So it gives you a very good context kind of as to where you're, where you're at and what it's going to look like when you're done with it. It supports the full checkout, check-in lifecycle, just like the content server does. So you don't have to worry about people stepping all over each other when they're editing content and things like that. The other end-user improvement we really did is we integrated into the templates for our portal integration suite, which are our portlets that we use to build out a lot of this content, is we have these list-based areas where it shows, categorized, views of content on the intranet, so people can sort of easily drill down and find what they're looking for. But instead of, driving them to the content server interface, which, if people are comfortable with that, they can still use that to check in the content, we add into these templates the ability to just take the file that you want and drag it into the spot on the screen that you're going to want it to show up eventually. So it gives you a little spot to drop, like so Jason has his picture there that he's dropping onto the page to add it into the list. And then we give you the ability to tag this content, add some keywords to it real quick, so that it goes right into the content server. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the administrative tools. The biggest piece we added here is surrounded security. The initial release was actually a little light on security. Since it was mostly focused on intranets, a lot of it was basically public content that we locked down to just a few, more general groups of contributors. But we got into these, in more situations on, external-facing portals where there's a lot tighter control over who could see from a security standpoint, and also really who could edit the different sections of the site. So we built out a site manager tool that allows you to visualize the entire menu structure and content of the site, and then assign individual users or groups of users access to, either view or edit that content. It's all based on the WebCenter content security model using accounts, and we can go all the way down actually to under the section level. We can even go down to the category level, so further on down. The other thing that this site manager gives you is the ability to manage, besides managing just the menu structure, but the actual sites themselves, and also some of the translations, different languages and stuff for the menu structure. Another piece that was added, this is kind of both an administrator tool, but really for, either your developers or your power users who are actually building out the portals, is a ADF task flow to integrate other web applications into the portal. This is a very lightweight app integration. It uses an iframe. And you might be thinking, well, this sounds very similar to a web clipping portlet or the old Oracle Omni portlet. And it is similar to that, but if you've used those are difficult to use, I would say, especially for someone who isn't very technical. What this task flow gives you is a nice, easy way to drop the task flow on the page, put in the URL, and then do some basic parameter configuration of how big you want the frame, any other parameters you need to pass it down with the URL. And we've actually made it so that you can link over to the page that has a task flow on it, and users can create these links. And Jerry will actually probably show in his demo, creating a link in the menu structure. A business user can create a link to this page that has the task flow on it, and then deep link down into that other web app by passing certain parameters.
All right, thanks, Andy. So again, Andy covered some of the new tools on the end user side that we've added to, again, the initial point being made at the beginning was really further engage your business users to allow them to contribute content. On the admin side, really helping you go forward with the framework to control security, and also provide that layer of basically bridging that gap between current applications that you have that you might be phasing out, but you still want to surface content in the context of your portal. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Jerry, and Jerry's going to go into a little bit more deeper dive on the overall components that Portal Solution Accelerator includes. Jerry, back to you.
What we're going to see over the next few screens here is just some sample shots of some of the components and how they kind of get assembled in their rendered state. Across the top, you're going to see the main menu. That's our mega menu approach, where we call site sections. And the administrator is the one who owns setting those up. And those are a finite amount. You don't want to have too many across the top of your menu bar. And if you add more things underneath them, you'll get some kind of a down V or down arrow that shows you that there's stuff underneath that content item. What happens to be built out after the site sections where the main menu is what we call categories, subcategories, and topics down the left-hand side of the display here. Categories have to be under each site section, and we at least have to have a minimum of a category before you can put any additional subcategories or topics underneath. And that allows you to build a layered structure to your mega menu and break out segments of it, and additionally add subcategories that can be folded out. So your site design might call out for things to be expanded automatically or things to be collapsed automatically, and then you click through. You can even provide imagery into that if you wanted to, which is all based on the skin site design. Continuing down the left-hand side, one of the key areas or things that makes up how we render so much content using so few pages is we assemble pages based on some components. One of those components is what's called the contact info. Most of the time people create a page of content and they usually come up with a topic and they want to put some kind of contact information to ask either for additional questions or to perform some kind of function on that topic. Well, we create a metadata-only item that can be displayed through a task flow and related to topics and articles so that you can just relate the two together, maintain the content in one area, and then display that in multiple pages based on that relationship. The mega menu down here off the left shows you a little bit more of an expanded view of that category topic view of things. And as I go over to the right side of the page, you see a core landing page. And the landing page is where things start off. That's the biggest real estate discussion that takes place in any intranet or extranet. And when we talk about microsites, and I'll show in the demo, is that you don't have to be as worried about that as now in the future because we can assemble a collection of microsites and make it look like one intranet. Articles and topics are the next format. That's where the content actually is rendered that you contribute. And when you create this content, you additionally can tag in related content during your contribution process. So you can create a topic or article, add contact information to it, and then attach additional documents or links to it that show up automatically in the pages rendered. If I show you some examples of how the mega menu works here, the site section is across the top. And when we click through, we see a category get broken out, and we click through again, the topic shows up underneath of that. And some of the benefits of this content-based navigation activity are the user is control of this. They can modify it any time. There's no IT involvement. The menus are secured with credentials. They can be driven and targeted based on personalization. And we can even share this built-in support for MySpace's links, and even share these navigations across multiple sites. Because each microsite can have its own navigation, or if you want a collaboration site to share the same intranet navigation, we can share that. It's very simple. A key display on any intranet or extranet is going to be your landing page. It's made up of several components. Your site design will dictate how things are laid out and what components are taken advantage of. There's menus across the top with a header, and then other menu headers we expose that allow for privileged users to do things like administrators or content contributors. You have a primary carousel that can be built out to be, based on your site design, the full width of the page or just a small segment of the page. Snippet pieces of content can be placed throughout the landing page. And then across the bottom there you see sample search result portlets, announcements, news releases, and calendar events, each with its own format display via a JSP template, which is, by the way, checked into the content server, so it's real-time changes if you wish to change the JSP template. And that formats the content for display. One of the cool portions of what makes this whole integration work is, like I said, two JSR 286 portlet components, and they would make up what we call an individual product called Portal Integration Suite. Because these portlets are usable on WebLogic and LifeRay and not just WebCenter, so we can extend that capability to those two footprints as well. This serves up the content via the one-to-one contribution or one-to-one display or the one-to-many display, and drives a WYSIWYG type of edit interaction for the snippet content. And we can also expose a contribution button for add new based on your view of that event. And that event can be personalized based on how the contributor tagged it when they put it in. It's got a simple display interface when you're working through it through the WebCenter Composer aspect of your site administration, where you can build out selecting of the template, pointing to more than one content server on the page, which is a challenge with the out-of-the-box capabilities with Oracle. For example, you could have two search portlets pulling from two different WebCenter content instances. We provide a query and query results, and we drive personalization in that particular portlet component. Now the landing page microsite view of things, for example, if you have a base intranet site and you have, say, an HR or IT or a financial group that are large enough areas of your organization that deserve their own landing page, not just share a little bit of the core intranet landing page. So we call this a microsite, and that landing page microsite can be slightly different structure, like you see here, where the header has been collapsed automatically using the same template, but it shows a snippet piece of content across the top and two out-of-the-box task flows from the Oracle product, from WebCenter. Same menu as across the top, or a different menu if you choose to use that approach. The snippet content, and then search portlets for announcements, and what we have called as a secondary carousel. Some people like to use this secondary carousel for departmental type activities, which can drive into further content integration. Now, one of the powerful components of the PSA toolset is what we call the topics, articles, and related contacts. You access the topic, and we have three types of topics. We're called links, documents, and web content. All three of those are what we consider navigation items. Topics always show up in the mega menu navigation like you see here. That topic then points you to the page that gets rendered. Now the middle portion of that, if you click through this, will show you the segments of the page. And the topic web content is what shows up in the middle. This layout just happens to have it in the middle. Your particular site design can have it anywhere. You can have it all the way left, across the top, and we can mix and match those. Related content then is where the content shows up in the middle that individual contributor put into the content server. The related content off the left-hand side of the screen there is showing a content item that was related to this topic when it was contributed, and there are two different contacts off to the right-hand side that we happen to have this page layout. You can have as many as you want, that makes sense for your page design, and when those are related at the time of contribution. So it makes it real easy to build a full page by simply assembling them during the contribution process. If we move on to content contribution, we can show you what takes place on the content server side. Now there is like Andy was mentioning, there is a security paradigm that can be put in place to help drive separation of contribution from different people who own different sections of the site or even different microsites. So we can provide security at the WebCenter admin level, so there's at the content server side, there's the site sections and stuff that goes on with the core content server. At the category and subcategory level, that might be rolled out to your individual departments, whether it be the IT manager, marketing comm, or some kind of HR manager, and they can decide what categories and subcategories they want their contributors to place topics underneath. And so when you kind of move down the checklist here, then the overall contributors, a decentralized model can be handed over to your different departments, where they can contribute and control what they put into their portion of the site. We can completely protect certain sections with a combination of the content server security and the PSA exposed features to help drive that specifically. Now how you see this, and I'll show this in my demo as well, but what you get with the PSA components on the content server side is a pre-established set of profiles. I believe it's about 15 to 18 that we have to date, and they deal with some of the things you saw in terms of navigation, and they deal with also some of the features for announcements, news releases, document contribution, things of that nature. And for example, when you do a topic web, as you see example here, we have the WYSIWYG editor built into the profile page. A lot of times when the customer rolls out the initial portal, whether it's Intranet or Extranet, they do a lot of contribution via the content server first. And so all the web content goes in this way, and they would use the portal inline editing to kind of do updates on some kind of frequency basis for the changes they're making. The profiles are made up for the topic web content, in this case, profile is made up of the editor as well as the metadata you see below there. It's got the WYSIWYG components, the exact same WYSIWYG components you see in the portal, and There's the options for the pick list, like you see with the related content and contact informations, and even maybe personalization information down across the bottom.
All right, so one of our other favorite features of the framework is we built personalization right into this. And this is pretty straightforward personalization. What it does is basically matches user attributes that you would get out of your central user repository, usually an LDAP, Active Directory, something like that. And it matches those up with metadata on the content. So it will create the queries and stuff when it's building out the menus and the different lists for the related content and the contact information based on who that user actually is. And the best example of this is for the large healthcare organization that Jason mentioned earlier on. It's one of our success stories. They were able to build out for their various clinics and hospitals using one site. They were only developing one site, develop different sets of content for all those clinics. So those users would have targeted content for them as they came into the site.
We're going to give Jerry a few moments to transition to his demo here, and with that I'm going to open the poll question and also kind of recap what we've covered so far. So we introduced the fact that Portal Solution Accelerator really is that jumpstart framework for your portal, your intranet, your extranet, and then the various components that it includes to really get that process started. Now Jerry's going to show some of those components in action and how actually we've used our own framework, the Portal Solution Accelerator framework, to build our own intranet or portal here at Fishbowl Solutions, and he's going to take you through that now. And Jerry's going to take it over from here and give a demonstration. Jerry, you have control.
All right, perfect. Well, let's make sure I can stay connected here and we'll be doing good. Hopefully everybody can see my screen. I'll try and pace myself so in case there's any lag time in the display, but you should be seeing the Show Me portal we have on our demo site. What you're seeing here is some of the screen samples you saw in the screenshots as well, but I'm going to go through the navigation item you see is a mega menu navigation approach that is available to us through this Show Me site. There's also a navigation, or not necessarily navigation, but some menu options across the top for the privileged few who can do certain things within the portal that show up based on your site design. I have currently already turned on the page control so I can do inline editing. But you can see here that we've exposed a number of the profile via the portal to do contribution with. So if you have the rights to do so, you can click on one of these links and it'll take you to the content server page for a full page editing and dealing with the contribution activity. That's just a manner of how we deal with this. So you see our carousel coming across the side here, but you can also see that our site has some responsive design built into it. And you'll start seeing some of the arrows show up when it gets down to the pad level and then working its way down to what the phone level will be. So one of the considerations for your site design will be questions about what level of responsive design do you require, if at all, and how far down to the device size do we need to consider. So I've turned on the edit mode already, and I'm clicking into a snippet piece of content that's on my landing page. And when I click on that snippet piece of content, it automatically brings up the editor and highlights the snippet area on the page. This is a single portlet calling a single piece of content, and these set of buttons with the CK editor are all configurable for your environment, and we've added several for inserting links from the content server, articles, and images, so that we can pull stuff directly based on how we've configured the Portal Solution Accelerator. I can do the basic stuff like bolding or italicizing and adding new items and changing the fonts if you choose to do so. Your site design might say I can only do certain things with respect to styles, and those can be locked down directly. You can also bring up items, a pop-up list that allows for picking items from the content server for displaying on the page. So I can pick from my list and then go directly into pulling it back into my snippet piece of content, for example. And that works for any of the three buttons here. After I make my changes, I make my saves, or save my changes, and then get confirmation. And if I clicked out of that box, you would see that I'd made my changes here. When I click back in, I can immediately make those changes again. take those changes off and save them. Every iteration of that change is saved as a new revision for that piece of content in the content server. Very quick, easy way to get there. You can see our search displays here across the bottom. We have a couple of options. The See All option, your site design, again, would dictate some of the look and feel of how some of the header See All buttons tend to work. But what I do want to show you from the portal side is we can do additional JSP templates and pull documents out of the content server through one of our check-in profiles. And it's really easy to provide filtering off to the left-hand side with more of a fly-out view to that filter and show a folded set of flyouts for every section you selected in that view, and then show all the documents underneath there. This is good for departmental document management or documents you wish to expose all the way up to the highest level of your intranet. Now I'm going to drive over to the microsite. I want you to kind of pay close attention to the menu navigation. I'm going to go to a microsite called Information Technology, and most use cases have a larger area of their business that deserves to have their own landing page. You'll see the landing page has changed. The skin has stayed the same. My navigation is different because it's been targeted and set up strictly for this microsite. My same snippet editing capabilities are available, and my portlets are available, and task flows are available. I might happen to have pushed to this site. To go down a further layer in the microsite approach, I can even go over to a collaboration site, which is exposing most of the out-of-the-box features for collaboration that the WebCenter portal offers. In this case, the navigation is the original intranet navigation. So I can see the same thing, so I feel like I'm in my collaboration site, but I'm still within the intranet. And I can show additional features with respect to what's going on I might want to show for the portal in a more tab approach. So I've got kind of layers of views to see and work with things. I'm going to navigate back to the site here and then show how we can integrate business components or ADF components into the portal and still maintain that same look and feel. And in this case, we just happen to bring up a search screen with some different navigation items. And I can navigate back to my space with the out-of-the-box spaces capability if I wish to keep that enabled. So it just gives you the full cycle of how to work with the microsite and the PSA model across multiple spaces. I'm going to flip over to the content server side for a moment and just show you some of the pieces there and the new features with the site security and site manager component. You see the same check-in profiles that were exposed, similar profiles that were exposed on the portal side, exposed here, and with some new ones that we just didn't happen to have exposed in this example. We've integrated our Google search appliance and stuff inside of the content server here for easy access and use, but the portal side, the PSA tools get exposed on the content server side as well. We've got mega menu sorting, so you can go through the mega menu approach in the graphical format and realign those menus. And then you can see Site Manager. And Site Manager, and we have another component we add on that is custom for each customer, is a Site Table Manager. So Site Manager is our out-of-the-box features for managing the spaces and the Site Manager security and so forth about how that site gets set up and the site sections around that. And we can kind of, this is all multilingual, so we can actually pick the language of the item we want to show up in the site section. So the PSA toolset is multilingual supported. On the Site Manager side, I'm showing the multiple sites here. I can go over to my Show Me site, and I can show the site sections off to the left here, and then start to build up my security all the way down to the specific topic if I wanted to. In this case, we were only exposing the site section and the category. So it gets very granular if we wanted to drive it that way. In other cases where customers have custom tables that they want to use for their drop-down selections for check-in profiles, we would add another row here called Site Table Manager and expose those specifically for user access and then control who in the business has access to that. So you don't have to go through IT to simply change new items you might want to put from a contribution perspective for tagging. Here I'm going to show a topic link being set up, and with the standard metadata fields, personalization fields have to be exposed or hidden based on how the configuration of the profile is, and then the link can be supplied here. And that link structure is what helps drive access via the navigation to specific pages you might extend on the portal for your own site outside of the PSA framework. And I'll do a quick show you how the topic web page looks like in terms of the editor being shown. And that editor will show up inline here in the content server profile and allows for a full contribution method within that check-in profile. And these pick lists that we were talking about earlier for related content information allows for picking stuff from a folder or doing searches to find the items you wish to select and add to that relationship. So if you ever change them, they're changed wherever you made the relationship at. So it's very easy and simple to maintain that. Okay, I think that's my time is up from that perspective. I just want to give you a quick view of some of the features on the portal side and the content server side so you see how easy it is to kind of make those contributions to the portal. Jason?
All right, thanks, Jerry. So I wanted to just kind of recap a few of the things that Jerry showed. So Jerry, at the end there, was showing how we could bring ADF components into the framework, and that's a big key. So again, focusing on, ADF can be used along with the framework. It's not like we're saying that it can't be used. It's really a matter of getting something built and then deciding what components you want to bring in and how you're going to do that. And ADF is a big piece of that going forward. So I wanted to turn it back over to Jerry, though, because I think Jerry has, as he showed the demo and was talking about the various things that we've done with PSA and moving it, kind of evolving it from an intranet use case to a portal use case, we're currently working with the customer to do just that. So Jerry, you want to touch on that here?
Sure. There's a large manufacturer we're working with that's some of their business problems were getting information to the customer, allowing IT to get out of the loop and put the business in the loop. And that high cost and turnaround of getting their content updated was very difficult. There's also competitive pressures to put a good, interesting, compelling looking site out there that's easy to maintain and then provide content to, but also provide some of that back office integration. Because we're seeing a lot of Portal, and Portal is an aggregator of content, data, and applications through various means. And the application integration helps you provide that layer to separate what's going on in the front end from what's going on in the back end. So if you replace one of your back office systems or portions of your back office systems, it's merely simply a different page change that takes place on the front end when you use Portal to drive that. So whether you're doing orders or some kind of publications and preferences and subscriptions and notifications, what you expose through that process is how you provide that engaging portal solution to that type of customer.
All right, great. Thanks, Jerry. So now I'm going to turn it back over to Andy. We promised just a little comparison on the feature set side with PSA as it sits today with WebCenter Portal 11.1.1.8. So I'm going to turn it back over to Andy. Andy?
I'll run through these real quickly, so hopefully you can answer a few questions here that have been posed. So the .8 release of Portal is a really nice release by Oracle, and we wanted to go through and see how our stuff matched up with theirs, and a lot of the stuff that they put in there actually helps us in a lot of ways, from a performance standpoint and from using their out-of-the-box Oracle Composer to build pages, makes things, a lot better for us as well. But still, the page templates and the layouts, for us, and really this is the layouts for the actual, portlets and smaller components on the pages. We have that JSP-based approach, which is more industry standards-based, and it's a lot easier to find resources that can, work with that, as opposed to the more ADF-based layouts in WebCenter Portal. So the trade-off there is just, complexity and skill set to be able to create these templates. One of the things that we saw was that we have a nice built-in little task flow that builds out the contextual breadcrumb for where you're at in the site as part of our framework. .8 also has one of those built in, and you can put it on the page, but it doesn't, it's not clickable. So you'd have to customize that or create a new one that was clickable and it was, drill down to the site. Search, I'm not sure how many of you are aware, but the recommendation for search with WebCenter Portal is to use Oracle Secure Enterprise Search. As a standalone product that has been end-of-lifed and will no longer be supported by Oracle, it is still supported as a sub-module of WebCenter Portal or WebCenter content, but we found it's not only is it difficult to install, configure, and maintain, it also doesn't provide some of the features that, for example, the Google Search Appliance does. So as you would expect, with our Google Search Appliance integration, we've integrated it as part of our framework here as well. Going along with the first point there, we have our search and snippet and search portlets, which are JSP-based industry standard JSR 286 portlets. And the option for WebCenter Portal is the content presenter using ADF-based portlets, and once again, it's just a complexity and time to create trade-off. One of our favorite things is that Jerry showed a little bit of is sharing the menu navigation between sites that we have built into ours. You can do the same thing with WebCenter Portal by sharing the navigation models that you create across the different sites. So the only difference there is it just takes a little longer to hand make those navigation models as opposed to letting the business, contribute and build up the navigation without any IT involvement. One of the features of our framework that Jerry demoed there was our inline editor I mentioned earlier. So it's right in context of the page, very simple. You can get there with one click right into the content. In WebCenter Portal, to do that web-based content is based on Site Studio Contributor and takes quite a few clicks to get into the editor. So it's just a time for the users to get their content edited. And the last one is a big part of our framework is the ability to reuse a single layout page to render many different pieces of content. So all those topic and articles that you see that make up the bulk of the site only require one, maybe two layout pages to actually render them. If anyone's familiar with Site Studios, is very shamelessly borrowed from the Site Studio secondary page concept, where you have one item that drives the page display for that. The content item actually drives what is displayed on that page. You only have one layout for it.
All right, great. Thanks, Andy. So we're going to wrap up the webinar. We're almost to the end of the hour. If attendees want to stay on, there are a few questions that we're going to answer. So, but I do want to wrap it up. So what I want to just kind of summarize is one of the key benefits of using a framework to build and deploy your portal is just time to market. So what we're showing here is kind of the various steps and stages along the way when you're building your portal. And as you kind of take a look at these various steps and stages, I'll just add that all the way up to kind of content contribution to user testing, we've had customers do the majority of these things in 30 to 45 days. So the last piece of that is really getting the content on the page that seems to take the most time. One of the things to mention here is it's going to be different depending on the project you're involved in. So if you already have your portal up and running, we can come in and just help you further expose the features and benefits and allow for further engagement for the users. So what I want to wrap up on is, again, at the beginning of the presentation, we really wanted to hone in on the value that a framework type approach to building and deploying your portal, intranet, or extranet with a framework, with Portal Solution Accelerator can help you with. And really that's help you reduce the risk and overall complexity. So if you're looking at building this large monolithic ADF-based portal, again, you can do that, but just think about the go-forward options that you'll have from that standpoint. So the time to market will typically be increased, and then the ability to really allow for this end-user contribution and distribution of content and roles, that's going to be a little bit more complex and time-consuming as well. The time to market in the previous slide, I really wanted to call that out. So really getting a proven packaged offering that customers have had success with, getting that to customers so that they can really use that framework and start building their portal from there. What Jerry showed in the demo is a lot of this, it's already been packaged. They have there's profiles and rules that you can use within WebCenter to get the content on the site, and then really allowing the security to be managed in place as well. But at the end of the day, we really want to provide a portal experience and help customers further leverage WebCenter portal by allowing them to not only contribute content, but providing that next generation user experience where they want to come to the portal or the intranet to get information, they want to interact with others with the out-of-the-box collaboration features, but they also want to basically do as much as possible from the site. So when you think about self-service and integration with applications, this framework really provides that jump start to do that. So at the end of the day, what we're saying for customers to consider is if you're looking to build or further deploy or further improve your WebCenter portal, Intranet, Extranet, or enterprise portal using a framework approach, you can do that much more quickly, accelerated type deployment. You can get it up and running. You can start integrating your business applications. You can start bringing in ADF components and other Oracle technologies that you have, but really lowering the total investment. So being able to reuse this framework across multiple sites, multiple pages, by using familiar design and deployment patterns and the industry standard type development technologies that are out there today. But then really providing the users with this proven approach to allow them to contribute content, feel like they actually have ownership of the content that's on the site, and allowing them to really distribute that across the various users that they have within their organization. So with that, we are at the end of the hour, but if attendees do want to stay on, we do have a few questions that I'm just going to ask here real quickly. So the first question that was asked, and Andy Weaver is going to be answering this, does the solution work with folders G and framework folders?
That's a nice, easy answer, yes.
So Andy, how would we compare this to a WebCenter site type system and people using Site Studio? Should they go to Portal?
WebCenter Sites, we found, is a very marketing-driven product. So it's really great at what it does, and what it's great as the large .com sites where there's a really heavy marketing focus, and getting a lot of that marketing data back. It's not, our framework isn't really in the same ballpark as it, because we're looking at a quick uptime, quick turnaround, something in the 30 to 60-day range, where a typical WebCenter Sites implementation won't be ready until 6-8 months later. You have to build out a lot of that contribution process that we've already built out. As for Site Studio, we actually going to see our framework as a future, pseudo replacement for Site Studio. It borrows a lot of the same concepts. It's targeted at, it's more for smaller targeted sites, kind of filling the niche that Site Studio did before. So in the question of should you go to Portal, with Site Studio kind of going away and Sites being for a much bigger implementation, if you have a website that you want to stand up that fit more the Site Studio model, then yeah, Portal would be a good spot to go to. It also allows you to do the extra integration a lot more easily than Sites would.
So a question on security, Andy. So can it be, you drill down all the way to items level security? We
can drill all the way down to item level security. We haven't had anyone do that yet as part of the implementation, but since it is using content service security, we can assign accounts and security groups all the way down to the individual content item level if we want to.
All right, great. So there were a few other questions that were asked. Those questions and the answers to those questions will be made available on the Fishbowl blog. So I think at this point we're going to conclude the webinar for today. I want to thank everyone for joining. If you do have any immediate questions regarding Portal Solution Accelerator or other WebCenter value-add solutions or services that Fishbowl provides, the slide that I'm showing right now has some contact information that you can reach out to us. But we hope everyone has a great day. Thanks again for attending, and we will talk to you again soon. Thanks, everyone.